observability, I think it has a lot of one of the keys, right? It has the term observe in it. And I think the way I look at them is when you think of monitoring, monitoring is getting the answer to the question you know to ask. And observability, to your point, because you get this broader context, it's about allowing you to ask questions you didn't know to ask in advance, right? Because you're simply collecting all of this data. You're observing the state of your operational infrastructure so that you can figure all the pieces out. What I think is interesting, and this is, I'll put my analyst hat on for a second, observability really came out of the cloud native space, the term, and it originally meant a very specific thing, that you were collecting logs, metrics, and traces, and you were using that data to observe your operational state and then to infer stuff. And so they often went hand in hand. What I think is interesting is because it became so apparent for organizations that the traditional approaches to monitoring were at least by themselves insufficient, and that there was so much power to be had, and frankly, the evolution of technology to the point that we could actually manage this much data, that by ingesting all of this operational data and then sort of mining that data to understand and infer elements of the operational state, that it became the sort of term du jour, right? That now even a traditional monitoring company has, will now call themselves observability, right? And then there's folks like that used to work for that are sort of blending these worlds together, and they're doing both, and they're doing them at the same time. And so that's sort of this interesting. And then there's even this now, well, let's talk about it. There's both the traditional APM, application performance monitoring space, and it almost hurts me to say this, traditional AI ops space. How's AI ops now a traditional space? But anyway, that also, if you look at the vendors in these spaces, they are now increasingly talking about themselves as observability players. So it's become this sort of homogenistic term that is encompassing this entire area of, hey, what is our operational state and how can we manage it? Which then begs the question, because if you're in this space, if you're an IT operator, you're going to hear this a lot, right? What is the AI ops connection? So how do you see all of what we just talked about in the context of AI ops?